Hello and welcome to the Brit Iron Podcast NFL Playoff Divisional Round episode. I'm your host James, and as ever, I'm joined by my good friends Matt and Sam. Before we get into things, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the UKTouchdown.com. It's a great source of signed NFL and college memorabilia in the UK. Boys, there's a lot of great deals on there, you know.
Mate, I was actually having a scroll through the other night, just kind of, because I think I'm gonna make a purchase off there soon, you know. New year, got some money. We've been in lockdown, and there's some really sick jerseys on there. Some really cool ones. There's a Saquon one I've been eyeing up, which I might have to purchase. So anyone listening, please don't beat me to it.
The Mark Ingram one as well, I was eyeing up, so same all applies if you're...
I like Mark Ingram's bit.
Get it before he retires.
Could be gone soon.
Maybe, but...
Get it before he retires, mate.
What if we win the playoffs this year?
True.
Could be worth a lot of money in the future.
Maybe go Lamar route.
If there was one on there. If there's Lamar on there, I'll be all over that.
But it's only a matter of time.
It's got to be, you know.
Got to keep your eyes peeled, mate. Go back every day.
UKTouchdown.com. Go check it out. But boys, let's jump straight into football this week. Smaller slate, obviously, because we get into the business end of the season. And big game to kick us off on Saturday. 9:35 kickoff between the Rams and the Packers. Packers, of course, got the first round bye, so they're very fresh. And the Rams managed to turn over the Seahawks, which was a surprise to me in particular, and others as well.
Surprise for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But this Rams defense is very good. Do you guys reckon that Aaron Rodgers has what it takes?
Yep. I mean, Packers coming off of a bye. That, for me, just pretty much any defense thing at this point, they're probably going to take apart. I think they've learned, because I mean, there's brought up a few times that the one game they haven't looked great was that Bucs game. Just because bit of pressure on him, couple picks. Interesting those Bakhtiari being out, because that is what caused that game. I think that was the main thing that led to that all going south from. Yeah. So maybe there's an opening there for the Rams, but I think the issue is this defense, even holding this Packers offense, let's say 20 or around that figure, that's a good game for a defense. This Rams offense, I think, could struggle, because I feel like McVay, obviously there's the injury with Goff in his hand. I mean, McVay doesn't seem that, I don't know, maybe that confident in him, because the fact he could come in and play, they went with Wolford instead, and then Goff didn't end the season well. I think maybe there's a little bit of McVay here that's fallen out of love with Goff a little bit, and I don't know, I just don't think that regardless of who they put in, I don't think there's going to be enough from this team. And I mean, maybe the way to get around it is the way Wolford was looking with his legs gave you something different to what Goff gives you. And I mean, Goff with a bad hand, Wolford, they're throwing pretty similarly. So I'd almost think maybe Wolford's their best chance. But then again, you know, with someone like Goff, he comes out and has a good game. That's enough. But I think regardless of me, I just don't know if it's enough. I think this Packers team is destined for that championship.
They're very good, aren't they?
Goff's still the guy going forward in LA for me, and I think the issue for Goff is that actually he didn't start, not because I think that McVay's fallen out of love with Goff, but I think he wasn't in a spot to be starting. You could see the second or third play he was in, he took a sack and he hit the deck, and his hand, he went down on his hand, and you could see he got up and he was holding his hand. He was in pain and he wasn't holding the football properly. And at the end of the day, when you've got an injury on your throwing hand, and if the player himself is nervous and not comfortable with it, he's not going to be comfortable delivering the ball and throwing darts, and that showed at the weekend. They struggled passing the ball on a defence that has been weak against the pass all year. Yeah. They kind of made up for that on a couple of big plays. I mean, there was one that stood out to me where Cup downfield made a great adjustment to a throw that was, I mean, it wasn't a poorly thrown ball by Goff, but it was by no means a on the money, this is what you expect from a quarterback who gets paid $35 million a year. So this is a game that if Goff was at full health and the hand wasn't an issue, I would give the Rams a much better chance of winning this. But the Packers have got a really good defense. They've got a strong secondary, and a secondary that's not afraid to attack the ball. Jair Alexander's a really good young player who's in a good spot to kind of have a good game. And if they can't pass the ball, I don't think that Cam Akers alone is enough to drag them along to score 20 points. And I think the only way they win this game is if they score 20 and their defence plays out of their mind and holds Aaron Rodgers and that offence to less than 20, which is possible But Aaron Donald would have to have an insane game, and Ramsey would have to have an insane game. And I just don't see that happening.
And there's also question marks over Aaron Donald's health for this week
Exactly.
with the rib injury.
I mean, it does sound like he's going to play. I saw something earlier that basically they came out and said, look, if he can go, and we think he can go.
I think it's the same shot as Tyrod Taylor was meant to have earlier in the season. Essentially, the exact same thing needs to be done. Just, obviously,
back to the root.
not the exact same thing, just execute it correctly. I think that's all it'll be, which is not uncommon in the NFL. So he'll play, and you probably won't be able to tell. I'm sure he'll wake up and be feeling it the next day. But I think touch on Cam Akers though. I think that is the route to this Rams team winning. He looked electric last week. I think he's really hitting that point now. I mean, we spoke about a bit in that pre-season. If we think he will become the guy within that offense, we thought maybe a bit earlier on though. We thought we were saying about that halfway point when you see it happen. Injuries, all sorts going on, didn't happen, but now it's coming true, and he could definitely cause the Packers some problems. I mean, if they can lean on that run game, keep them off the field, play to the defense, that's a route to beating the Packers. But
it's a tough ask, isn't it? Very tough ask.
It's a tough one.
You're up against Aaron Rodgers, who MVP for this season, in my opinion.
I think if they want a shot at this game, Aaron Rodgers has to have somewhere between 20 and 25 minutes time of possession. If they can control that time of possession, then there's a chance. But all of that, in my opinion, rests on Donald and Ramsey, because they have to play lights out, because nobody else on that Rams defence, while they're a good defence, nobody else can play at that high of a level to compete with where Rodgers and Devontae Adams, because at the moment you're going up against what this season has been the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the league.
Also the best pass defence in the league this season as well.
Which is why I think, but Ramsey has to play at that level. If Ramsey doesn't, Devontae Adams is good enough that he can pick apart the rest of that defence, and Donald has to be at the forefront, because the Packers have got a great run defence, and so that interior line has to be solid.
That's the biggest thing for me, is that I'll go back again, but the game where the Packers looked weak was that Bucs one. That's because they couldn't run the ball, because the Bucs are the best defense against anyone trying to run the ball.
Yeah.
So we've seen it with if Green Bay, if they put in the pressure on Rodgers, or maybe you do manage to pick him off by some miracle, and he starts, I don't know if he gets questions in his head, or you can see there's been a couple games where he's not lighting up the field. They can just lean on that run game. They've got an incredible backfield, 3 guys there that can all do a job.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the issue for the Rams, is as much as maybe they can stop Rodgers, and that's probably going to have to be their game plan, they can then just get burnt on the ground.
Yeah.
I think they're not going to be able to do both. It's going to be the issue here.
I think I tend to agree. So in terms of betting then for this week, the Packers are minus 6.5 on the spread. I like that a lot. Where do you stand, Matt?
I'm a little bit hesitant, just because I feel like the majority of these playoff games have felt more defensive than the rest of the season. I think this regular season, taking that all day long.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just that slight inkling in the back of my head that it's going to be a slightly close one. Just because, as well, we know this Rams team is so well coached that I can't really see them getting blown out.
Yeah.
Mainly as well because of Akers stepping up. I think if Akers still looked average, or not average, but not what he has been the last few weeks, I think maybe they can't keep up, but I think they might be able to do enough to keep Rodgers off the field, do what they've got to do on defence when he is, and then just run up the clock with Akers, and I think they keep it closer. Because I don't know, these games have just felt a lot tighter, all of them, than they should have done. I mean, outside of what Steelers, Browns, big scoring game, but
that's a madness thing. We'll come on to that.
They feel like lower scoring for me.
But yeah, I think the spread's very tempting on this one, and the under over at 45.5 as well. I'm
taking the under. I know that sounds very low, but I'm sat there. Originally, I want to say over. But then, as I'm thinking that, I'm going, well, hang about. Green Bay have got the first seed in the NFC. The playoffs run through Green Bay. And one of the things, more than a lot of other teams around the league, that Green Bay has on its side is where it is. It is going to be, no matter what happens, it's going to be freezing cold. It could be freezing cold, blowing a gale. And if there's a freezing cold, blowing a gale game against a team that's a warm weather team, with a quarterback who's got a dodgy hand. Last thing I want to be doing if I've had a surgery on my hand is 2 weeks later be throwing in under 0 degrees C. I don't want to be doing that. It doesn't matter how tough I am, that's not going to be pleasant. So this is the kind of game that I think for either side could be run the ball, not crazy high pass numbers, high efficiency from Aaron Rodgers, but not necessarily high volume, and run the ball, play sound football, and for them just get through this and get to the championship game.
Yeah.
I think it's a game day one for me, the under-over.
Yeah.
Just see what that weather is actually doing. I mean, that's going to be a bit of a theme throughout. We've got games at Packers, at the Bills, at the Chiefs. All ones we've seen varying weather conditions over the years. So I think, especially on this one, wait and see how it's looking.
Yeah, I think it's wise.
Wait and see. Get up Saturday morning, see what it's looking like, go from there.
Yeah.
But if I had to, I'm leaning under. I'm like more 60-70% towards that. Just what I explained earlier. These games seem tighter. They seem like there's a lot more to lose.
Yeah.
So a bit more cagey affair, but especially if the weather's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely under that point. I think if that's a good point you've raised there, young Samuel. But the later game on Saturday evening, Sunday morning for us, 1:15 in the morning. Ravens going to play the Buffalo Bills. Another cold city, like you mentioned there. But Jackson got his first playoff win last week. Great to see. Finally got it.
Get that off his back.
Yeah, that duck off the back, whatever you want to call it. But
created the spark himself as well. I thought there was a minute there it was like, oh god, this is going to become like just one of those curses that runs throughout the NFL of like, can he ever break that duck in the playoffs? And then what was it, that 50, whatever length that run was that he went
incredible.
On.
Yeah.
That was the spark for that whole game for them, otherwise they were done.
Yeah, that's the Jackson we love to see, I think, isn't it? But do you reckon he can keep it rolling this week, going to Buffalo?
I think he can. I think they can keep it rolling. The issue I have is I think they're going up against a quarterback who plays a very similar style of football, who's just in better form. And while Lamar Jackson has had a couple games this season where he's looked like that, Josh Allen's looked like that all season, really. He's had a couple of down games. I mean, there was the one against the Chiefs, and they lost 3 games all year, and Josh Allen's looked great for the majority of the season, whereas Lamar Jackson, yes, he's hit his stride at the right time, but I still think there's something special about this Bills team. I think they're a bit more dynamic than the Ravens. The big thing for me is if that Ravens defensive front can get to Josh Allen and stop him from getting outside of the pocket, then the Ravens have got a real shot. And but whether they can, I'm not certain. So I would be leaning towards the Bills on this game.
I think for me though, with that point on Jackson and Allen, I would take Lamar Jackson playing at 85% and Josh Allen at 100. Like in terms of to their ceiling, I think Lamar Jackson is the better player, better quarterback, can do more on his own to absolutely light up a game. I think a lot of Josh Allen, you've got to have digs absolutely on his game. This season is what we've seen, whereas Lamar Jackson, we said, can literally just in a split second see a gap, go, touchdown, change the game.
Turns on a dime, doesn't he?
Exactly. The biggest thing for me is just the weather in this. Lamar Jackson came out and said it, I've never really played in the snow.
Yeah.
If this is a snow game, I mean, you'd think normally it trends more towards running the ball, so it'd potentially help him. But there's going to be that period of adjustment, and if he feels he can't throw it, it becomes very easy for this Bills defense to just dial in.
Yeah.
So I think I'm leaning. I think the Ravens might have something though. I think getting over that first quarter and where I think there was a lot of jitters and you could almost see it, it didn't look like it was working. Lamar Jackson had that spark, had that play. From there on, they looked good. They started looking more like this Ravens team we've expected over the last few years. And the big thing for the Bills is that running back tandem. Obviously now with Zach Moss being out, it's going to be Freeman's coming. We saw him for a bit with the Giants. That's a downgrade.
I think they've brought him in as a guy for the bench. I don't think he'll get a lot of volume.
But their backfield relies around using both of them. If you've watched the Bills, it's not just Singletary's in all the time and then Moss is there for a bit of relief.
Yeah.
They use them both quite heavily, and Moss is more of the guy when they get down to the red zone, down to the goal line. And I just have a feeling that could potentially throw him off. And because Singletary hasn't looked great regardless this year, so let's say if the run game isn't quite there against a good Ravens team that can, if they want to, absolutely shut that down, I get the feeling now, Josh Allen starts to think, right, this is all on me, and we've seen what can happen if you may get one mistake out of him, especially if he's trying too hard. I don't know, this for me feels set up for, it should be an explosive game. I think they're still going to put up points, the Bills are still going to look good. I think the Ravens are going to have their number.
The Ravens offensively, I think, are better set up for this game than the Bills, just because, like you say, in Buffalo, in that weather, could become a game of, right, who can run the ball best? At which point, You've got the best rushing offence in the league in the Ravens
Undoubtedly.
for 2 years on the trot, and you've got a stable of running backs, and you've got Lamar Jackson. On the flip side, there is the issue, and I think this is why I kind of, and again, it is just a lean. Like when we talk about betting, for me, this is a coin flip game. It could go either way, and it all comes down to the quarterbacks. If Lamar Jackson shows up and he doesn't fall apart in a cold weather game, then I'm taking the Ravens. But at this point, from what I've seen and from the past, you've got a guy who could show up and fall apart in a game and all could be great. Or you've got Josh Allen, who's 6'5", stocky, went to Wyoming, so he's used to this kind of weather, and a bit of snow is not going to throw him off his game. It might make him adapt, but it's not going to throw him off his game. So if Lamar Jackson falls apart, then I think Josh Allen's better set up to kind of adapt. But in terms of which offense I think will be most successful throughout this, I think the Ravens they've got more players to sit back and hand the ball off.
It makes that first quarter very interesting for the Ravens. If they don't look good during that part, then I think...
they'll need to adjust quickly.
Yeah, if they don't look good, I think take the Bills at that point, I think for the rest of the game. But that first quarter will tell me a lot about how the game's going to go.
Yeah, I was thinking that this week, and the way it started, I was like, well, I sort of predicted it as Ravens go out, get a big lead, Titans claw it back, and came out not at all. I mean, it looked shaky for a bit, and then they just got it rolling early.
But
I get the feeling like they can potentially, as long as their defense is there, this offense can have a quarter to adapt because it's so good that the remaining three can score as many as most in 4. I feel like the amount we'll mention the weather this week, it's going to be like just all clear weather games.
Yeah, nice sunny day.
Yeah, like just not too much wind, maybe a bit chilly.
Josh Allen throws for 500 yards.
6 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson runs for 5.
One good thing I think for the Ravens is they've seen what they're going to have from that Colts game for the Bills. It's some great tape on how to really slow down this Bills team and to really start to control them, get the 3 and outs and put them in these bad spots. And I mean, a lot of what the Colts did well was punting. They had them starting from inside their 10 for most drives.
The Colts, and this was not. I think we mentioned this when it got to the end of the game. We were like, because no one ever gives punters any credit, but the punting for the Colts. I mean, it was Sanchez that was punting, I think.
Not sure, but whoever it was, good job.
Yeah, he did well, mate.
That's the Colts punter who had cancer midway through the season, and he came back.
Job, then.
And he's come back, and he was a weapon. He made Pat McAfee proud last week. So yeah, if you can pin it back, can be done.
You're starting to see, I think, that it's just good tape to be able to watch and come off. And I think there's going to be a little bit in the Bills' head of, well, hang on, a team has just shown what you can do against us. And I'd say the Ravens, I mean, if they're playing 100%, like the Colts defense on its day is pretty similar to the Ravens. But I think the Ravens are more consistent. Yeah. So I mean, if boys are better defense, maybe they can get it done. Use that as a game plan. Go into it, kind of flip that script of where Lamar was like, teams always know what we're doing.
Yeah,
it's like your defense knows what the other team's doing.
You've got some really big playmakers in that Ravens secondary with Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters both back there. They're guys that both kind of make big mistakes and they get targeted a lot because of that. But in a playoff game, I like the players that attack the ball and they're happy to. They'll give up a play here or there, but they will get that crucial turnover.
I mean, look at the interception. Last play of the game last week.
Exactly.
Spot on, Sam. But the spread for this game actually favours the Bills at -2 as of time of recording. Are we taking that? It sounds like you might be there, Sam.
It's a lean for me, so
-2. Radio silence.
This is a game. This is a game that if I'm thinking with my money making head on, and I'm thinking I've got money and I just want to make money from this bet. I'm not betting on that at all. I'm not.
How has that brain worked for you this season so far?
It's not gone well.
So don't use that brain. What's the other one then? Come on.
I'll take the Ravens at +2.
Yeah,
I'm doing the same.
But I think it's a lean. It's so close either way. I'm just taking the one that gives me the opportunity that if I lose by a point, I might still win the bet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think I'm taking the Ravens as well. I think it feels like a 60-40 sort of decision. But I just think the way they're set up, the way they are as a team, even if the weather does swing, as long as Lamar Jackson doesn't have a nightmare, they're just better suited for all of it. Just the style of football they've got, and I think they're going to have the Bills' number.
Yeah, I hope they do. I hope we do. Big game ahead.
Massive.
Also, big spread, 50.5. Are we taking that? I think I might.
It's two good offences, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like a trap sort of thing. I don't know. I feel like
A trap.
I just felt I don't know, two great offences. But it's also two pretty solid defences as well. Is the issue for me. I'm not going there. I'm not going to bet on it. I think if I was, I'd go under. If the weather's dodgy, I'm going under definitely. But I think for the most part, I'm avoiding that. It's because either side of the ball could step up. You could just have both defences playing incredible, and it's a close fought one, or just don't really show up, and the offense is like, all right, this is our night.
Yeah.
So I'm staying away from that.
Let's take it over. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, it's another one that I don't think you can really call it, and with my betting head on, I'm probably not whacking it on. But,
So yeah, do the opposite then.
So yeah, why not?
Yeah.
My brain tells me not to bet on it, so everything on over. My house on over.
Put the house on it, rent on it.
Exactly.
Might have to get you some help during the off-season.
I'll put the naming rights to my firstborn child on it. I think.
Call him Lamar if he comes in.
Call him Lamar. Shall I do that?
You should do. That's on video now.
Right.
Yeah, we've got
that's
that.
on tape.
Okay.
So
remember
on
that.
YouTube.
My firstborn child shall be called Lamar.
Can we shake on it? If this comes in.
Come on, you got it now. You started it. Can we see it? There it is. Yep.
Nice.
He's going to be there at the birth of his firstborn child.
That is
You're
going to
gonna
be a very
thinking, like,
interesting conversation.
I'm just going to run in with a laptop, like.
Yeah.
That is going to be a very interesting conversation.
Lamar Berry.
What is a girl?
Lamarette Berry?
No, it's not. It's
That
not.
sounds very French.
It just
Lamar.
has to be. It just has to be Lamar. There was
it's true.
You shook on it before you put anything in place.
You said child as well. You didn't say son or daughter. So
Lamar
Berry.
What a time to be alive.
Good luck to whoever you marry.
Not for the kid. That's one kid that's going to get bullied a lot.
Well, unless Lamar Jackson becomes a Hall of Famer, NFL grows in the UK.
The NFL to get pretty big over
You
it.
never know.
I was going to say. Well, that's where we need the listeners to help grow the sport.
I'm sure we can get hashtags.
Subscribe and share. So
for the sake of my little unborn child.
More.
What does that idea?
We need to have a lot more listeners.
We've really gone down a road here.
Yeah, maybe we should get back onto the football. We'll remember this moment, but we'll get back onto the football. The playoffs Sunday, 5 minutes past 8, sees the Browns going to play the Chiefs. Chiefs, of course, off the back of that first round bye, so they're fresh again, just like the Packers are. But the Browns surprised, I think, everyone. Last week.
With the coaches being out, we were all here. We wrote them off. The second we're like, Stefanski's out. Right, sorry, Brown.
Although to be fair, we didn't know who the main player was at the point of recording. Turned out it was Bertoni, which wasn't the names we were speculating. Yeah. However, we still at that point thought head coach is out, a main player's out. But do you reckon they can surprise us again this weekend?
I think they're a scary prospect. I think they're a really scary prospect going forward. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. I said the Browns are a good team. They are definitely worthy of being in the playoffs, and I am going to ride with the Browns, and I say they win this game.
There's a button there somewhere.
No, there isn't.
Wow.
I'm about to justify why. What they did offensively without their play caller there was nothing short of incredible against a really good defence. And Pittsburgh wasn't playing its best, and they weren't at full strength with everybody there. But Pittsburgh didn't put up a terrible account defensively. Like, they got beat by a good offense. Now, coming in, they're on a roll. They're gaining players back. They get their head coach back. And Kansas City is coming off a bye in a season where I think as the season's gone on, Kansas hasn't gone from strength to strength to strength. They've had a number of games where they've found ways to win games. But they're not the team that towards the end of last year and at the start of this year were just hammering people into the ground and scoring 30, 40 points a game. You've kind of seen some cracks in Mahomes in general. Not in the sense that, oh my God, he's terrible, but it's almost like there have been points and games where I've been watching and gone, all right, so Mahomes is human. Mahomes makes mistakes that everybody makes, and that kind of illusion of, oh, well, Mahomes is just going to every single time pull something out of the bag, has been broken a little bit. I don't think they've been as good rushing the ball as they potentially want to be. I think offensively, there are times watching that offense, it almost feels like they rely on these massive plays. Like they rely on a silly play from Mahomes or for Tyreek Hill to break something. And I think going up against a Browns team that's a really solid defence, that is a really well-coached offence that knows what they want to do and will just stick to their guns, I think there's a chance, and a good chance, that it might just be a case of the Chiefs haven't played in a while, the big play doesn't come, and the Browns keep doing what they're doing. They just keep chipping away, and they win by 3 points. And I think that's a real possibility. So I'm going to say, take the Browns for the FC Championship. Let's go Baker. Let's go Stefanski. Also, Stefanski Coach of the Year.
You done? Right.
Good lord.
Okay then. So, apologies, Browns fans. It's gone real high for you there. You're not winning. I think for me, they played well, especially under the circumstances. They played really well. Big Ben lost the Steelers that game. 4 picks in a playoff game, you cannot do that. I don't care how many yards you go for. And if you're going to do it, okay, you throw 4 picks, you need at least probably, 6 touchdowns on the back of it. You can't go even. You can't go 50-50 picks and touchdowns in a playoff game. He lost that game, and you could see, I mean, you got a feel for him. The pictures of him at the end, like a tear down his face, like he knew that's on him. The defense as well, don't know where that went. I mean, fair play to the Browns, but I think it's just that defense didn't show up fully, didn't do what we've seen it do on the Steelers side. So I think I'm not getting too carried away with them. I think they're a good team. They're better than I gave them credit for earlier in the year. There's still cracks. There's still things you can exploit with this team. And the biggest thing is, as much as the Chiefs having a break, like, oh great, it might be a bit rusty. This Chiefs team off of a bye week is incredible. Like, they average 30 to 50 odd points. Like, I think the last 8 bye weeks, there's a couple of 50 bombs put up there. They're great when they come off that and they've had that time to prepare. And this season, it's looked like they've got another gear. Like, they're just getting the wins. They're that team, sort of what you used to see the Patriots doing. Just making sure you put the W on the board, that's all that matters. You don't have to play your best football, you don't have to look great, because as long as you get the win, it's fine in the regular season. When you get to the playoffs, that's when you step it up. And I think that's what we're about to see. And I think they're going to remind everyone they're the favourites for this whole thing. They are incredible. And yeah, Mahomes this year hasn't been record-breaking, hasn't been record-setting. It's not been a crazy MVP year. But he's still very good. He's still in that MVP conversation, and that's him not playing at his best.
Yeah. Still Mahomes.
So I think for me, he's got that gear to step it up. And should have Edwards at layer back. They didn't have him towards the last few weeks of the season. That's going to make that a lot easier for them in the run game. I just think the Chiefs are going to take this. I think the Browns have sort of had their big win, especially in the circumstances that Juju was saying about them before the game. Like, the Browns are the Browns. They've got their win. They kind of got their one up on them there. But fairy tale over this week. I think there's a reason the Chiefs are like the number 1 seed. There's a reason they're the favourite, like through Vegas.
Reigning champs.
They are the Chiefs.
I'm trying to.
I mean, Browns' pass defense
the mentalness
is there for the taking.
Exactly.
25th worst
in
the league.
Run game's going to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands.
I mean,
but we've been saying that for a whole season now. Teams can try that. He still manages to come out, and it just seems like he's got this thing about him. I think other years it was just there away winning fine. You didn't have to see him fight for results as much. And I think, sometimes he has put in that spot, a couple of picks like that Miami game, quite a few turnovers. But then he found his rhythm. He's lit him up.
He's got the Brady factor, right?
Exactly.
That not many quarterbacks in this league. I think maybe Rodgers has it.
Mm-hmm.
Brady has it. I don't think Breeze has got it anymore. I think Lamar's got it. That everyone on that team knows that no matter the situation, if there's time on the clock and they've got the ball in their hands, you've always got a chance, which is the biggest thing with this game. And whilst I'm sat here going, yes, the Browns, to ground myself in reality, I know that the Chiefs are the favourite, and I'm kind of trying to talk myself into the Browns, and I think there is a good shot that the Browns win this game. They've got a chance. They've got a good chance. Realistically, Chiefs probably win it.
They've got to put up 50 points again, I think, to win this game.
See, I think they've got to put up 30 and play great defence.
I think 35.
I think there's a good chance.
So what are we all naming our kids then? This is right.
I'll go with Patrick.
My second-born child shall be called Baker.
That's a bit more... I don't know.
Baker Berry.
Not really. You don't really get
Baker Berry.
When called Baker, do you?
When Lamar is born, and then Baker comes along a couple of years later, we should then start a flag football team.
What we do?
I just wish that Ha Ha Clinton Dix was still around. sort of relevant guy in the league that we could use that as your next born child.
Yeah.
But Browns 25th worst pass defense in the league. Mahomes incredible.
Mahomes and Andy Reid having time to scheme against that for an extra week, and I think it's essentially they've seen the Browns' best performance of the year last week. And I feel like the Browns have peaked. They're at that peak, and it's now just a little bit down the other side. It was going to be good, but it's not going to quite be what they did against the Saints. It's not going to be enough for me. Like, I don't know. I feel like they're going to get torched for at least 40 points here.
Their win condition might be through Hunt and Chubb.
Yeah.
You know, if this Chiefs run defense is their weakness, in my opinion, that defense. But can they do it to keep up with Mahomes? Probably
You've
not.
Got to control the ball.
You've got to execute it perfect. If you're doing that, you can't. You've got to convert when you're on these drives where you're rushing the ball. It can't be you do that for 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, whatever, and then get a field goal. Yeah. You've got to be converting for touchdowns, and then your defense has got to be playing lights out, getting 3 outs.
And Baker's got to be absolute money on 3rd and medium.
Yeah, exactly.
If you are on 3rd and 6, Baker's got to complete 80% of those. Otherwise, they don't have a shot at winning the game.
100%.
But there is an avenue. There is a way they can do it. There's always a chance.
Positives.
Yeah.
But they've got nothing less than 110 from them. They've got to be at their best, if not beyond it, to keep up in this game, I think. Because the Chiefs, I think, could come out, and even the Chiefs again at 90% could find a way to get the win here. This Browns team's got to play the game of their lives.
Moneyline, Chiefs. Spread. I'm actually taking the Browns. -10 in favour of the Chiefs.
Ridiculous.
As of recording.
That strikes me as almost a bit harsh on the Browns there. Like
it is harsh on the Browns.
Yeah, especially getting Stefanski back. I mean, is Batonio going to be back as well? Denzel Ward.
Really depends on the tests.
There's a chance they can have a lot of these guys back.
There's been no positive tests for any playoff team. I think I saw a tweet earlier today.
Yes, that's true.
It sounds like everyone should have
everything.
Everyone.
Yeah,
hopefully. Hopefully, because this point of the year when you only got 4 games, you want it to be all those 8 teams at their full strength. You don't want to look back and be like, well, that team only got through because, let's say, Mahomes was out with it. All those sort of things. You want it to be everyone at their best.
Yeah, I've seen people say like this: if a team wins the Super Bowl, it'll be a little asterisk after their name on the trophy, sort of thing. It's unfair.
I think the only team this year, in my opinion, that in terms of COVID was really, really hit, that I do think would have been a genuinely different team without COVID, is maybe the Patriots, because the Patriots lost quite a lot of important pieces on their defense that it might have changed their record and stuff. I mean, whether they sneak into the playoffs, I don't know. I probably don't think they do, because that offense was so bad.
Do you reckon they could have had more, if that defense is what it should have been, more wins than Cam would have thrown touchdown passes? To get in the playoffs, they would have needed it.
Yeah.
Close
potentially.
Horrendous stat.
Oh god, it's not good. But
potentially, but I think all the other teams, everyone's been dealing with the same thing. But I do agree with Matt that this is the time of the season that if one player goes down, there will always be that asterisk saying, "Oh, but we only played them and they were missing this," or "Oh, yeah, you won the Super Bowl, but when you played us, you didn't play our full team." It's like, right, no, everyone's healthy. The best teams are going to come out on top.
I think as well, there's that asterisk point that when you look back on it, let's say someone's like, "Oh, let's say, I don't know, 10, 20, 50 years, whatever. Why is that asterisk there?" If you explained it, you'd be like, hang on, that shouldn't belittle them winning it at all.
No, if anything, it's like,
well done.
Yeah.
Like, this is, in any sport, whatever it was, whether you had to be in a bubble, like you had with sort of like the hockey and stuff like that, getting a win this year means potentially even more, because you've had to deal with so much more stuff.
And you've kept COVID, your players have kept the discipline to go,
Players,
you know
coaches,
what, we're not going out, we're not going to see people outside of the bubble. So
unless the Ravens win, and then strength and conditioning coach.
He's had it both ways. He's had his cake and
it doesn't quite fit into that column, but
I think for most it's like a whole nother level to it, like the discipline that's required.
Yeah.
I don't think we could do it.
No one is. I
don't know. I reckon I could do it if someone said they were going to give me $30 million.
Yeah, good point actually. Yeah.
What, live in the bubble again?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I just go to work and come back here anyway, so like, for $30 million, I would happily not see people.
Just can't go to Asda, which is the best part of my week, so...
That is the highlight.
Don't know if I can do that.
Oh, I do like a trip to Asda.
Big Asda outing.
Yeah.
This episode's sponsored by... Still the UK touchdown. Yeah. But back to the game, the under over 56, I think I'm happy to take that on this game. It is high, but I think I'm happy to take it. Both agree?
Yeah. Just because I do think this Chiefs team puts up 40.
I hope they do.
And I mean, that is a lot. The Browns should be able to manage 16, but that -10 is still messing with me. I really don't know. Because I can really see the Chiefs hitting that. But if the Browns execute what we've spoken about and come out and play to their best, there's no way it's going to be. And just if that's a playoff game, I'm going to stay away from that. I'll happily take the over at 56, but that minus 10 or plus 10.
I'm taking it.
No
I'm
thanks.
taking it all day.
What for the Browns?
Browns, yeah, I'm taking it.
Right, I thought you said about the Chiefs.
Oh, no, I'm taking it Browns at plus 10.
Yeah. I'll join you on that.
I think I can definitely see it coming in.
Should we do it together?
Should we hold hands and do it?
Yeah, okay.
Do we do it now?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
That's off camera.
All alone, no.
Right, final game in this divisional round.
Oh.
Big game for you here, Matthew. Buccaneers going to New Orleans to play the Saints. Bucks crept by the Washington football team last week, and the Saints breezed past the Bears.
Breezed.
Let me have it. Let me have it. The Saints beat the Bears.
There we go.
Breeze.
That's much less entertaining.
Can't have fun with the Saints. Hate the Saints.
But it's an inter-division matchup
Mm-hmm.
at this point of the playoffs. Can your Bucks do it?
Third time lucky.
Yeah?
Well, okay, so me and Sam had a little bit of this debate the other day. I'm obviously going to be biased towards it at the end of the day.
Probably.
But that first loss, I think, limited off-season, team's got a mesh Brady coming into it. I think the Saints should win that game. They were the better team on that day. They have been both times this season, but I think that first one, I'm not reading really anything into because this Bucks team is completely different to what it was then.
Yeah.
Mainly on the offensive side of the ball, we're a completely different team. Week 9 was dreadful. We got embarrassed. They were putting in second strings, like, fair play. They absolutely outcoached us, outplayed us. Big thing is from that, I think it was very obvious what was going wrong for the Bucks. There was a lot of zone defense, which we didn't adjust from. We were very much like, right, we've got a game plan. Even though we're down 30 points, we're sticking to it. And I think they're going to have to have learned from that. I think after that game, a few weeks before then into the bye, we changed the offense. We allowed Brady to do his pre-snap motion. We committed more to the run. We did what you need to do in a Brady offense. So I think those two games for me are irrelevant. It's a different team now. And I think the Saints look slightly weaker. We look slightly better, which I think brings us kind of in line. And I think for me, it's the same thing. We know we're going to be able to shut down Kamara. He'll probably still sneak in for a touchdown. He averaged a touchdown a week. So he's probably going to get one. But in terms of the run game, we know we can shut that down. We've shut him down before. The big thing is, can we stop Breeze and Michael Thomas? Because Thomas looked back and playing at his best. He looked reliable again. I think that's a massive thing for me, and it's just avoiding these 3 and outs. If we can start, if we go the first 3-4 drives and we're maybe just a field goal, a few 3 and outs, we could find ourselves sort of flashbacks to that week 9. I think we can come out, do what we've been doing, kind of show what we've been showing on offense. I think it'll be fine if we can start hot. That's the biggest thing. If we start hot, I think we take this game and maybe by a score. I think if we start slow, is where it's just going to be repeated the same.
It's massively down to that offense, but like Matt said, but really, I honestly think it's down to Arians. I think all of this is down to Arians. The last couple of weeks, the things that we've seen offensively the Bucks do that have had so much success, like Matt said, is like you're doing a lot more pre-snap stuff and allowing Brady to have a bit more control at the line of scrimmage, which is what Brady historically has done really well. And you're involving the tight end a lot more than you were in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
And when you go back to that last, I will be happy to turn around and say, look, your first loss to the Saints, let's pretend that wasn't there, right? Let's pretend that doesn't exist because it's your first game. You've got all these new faces.
Long time ago as well.
Yeah, Brady's first game in a new system with loads of new. Let's forget about that, right? But that the second loss where they got embarrassed. I mean, they were played in every sense of the way. You got beaten all 3 phases. That game, I think, if the Bucks come out and they struggle in their first couple of drives, the danger that I foresee is all of the things that the Bucks have been doing in the last 4 weeks that have made them look good, and they've been doing it against inferior opposition. Now that if you come up against a good team that are as good as you, I think, generally across the board, fairly evenly matched teams, if you can't get it rolling quickly, the Arians goes, right, okay, what you want to do isn't working, so we're going to do what I want to do. And because Arians, to an extent, would have as much kind of backing as Brady would say, because Brady's going to go, well, what I do works. It's like, yeah, but also what Arians does historically has worked for him. Arians is known for being a bit of a guru when it comes offensively. So if they struggle early, you could see the two of them clash. And against that defence, which is a really good defence, and especially when it showed it against this team before, they can show up and stop Brady. At which point, then I think it could turn into a slogfest of 3 and out, and then it's just either team waiting for one of its players to make an inevitable big play. At which point, I would take the team that will probably have less issues in the Saints, because I think the Saints have got less chance of there being any kind of sideline issues, stuff like that. If the Bucks come out and they look like they have, and they get rolling quickly offensively, string a couple drives together where you're moving the ball, don't necessarily have to score straight away, just show that you can move the ball on them, then I think the Bucks win the game. But I think if you get to midway through the second quarter and it's quite clear that whatever Brady wants to be doing isn't quite working, Arians, I think, could then go, right, we're going to do what I want to do, at which point friction starts and people aren't on the same page, and that offence could fall apart.
Picture this, yeah.
I think I'm quite glad of having Washington last game. In terms of what we could have ended up with playoff-wise, one of the better defences. I think the really interesting thing we saw was Gronk didn't get targeted. He was essentially another lineman. They just put him in there to do what he does, work in the trenches and block. And he seemed happy doing it as well. I think he said afterwards. Cameron Brate came out, had a great game. I think that's going to be very important to keep the pocket clean for Brady, which we know if you do that, Brady can
deliver.
He can take apart any defence. I think we're going to see a repeat of that. I think the biggest thing on offence is Godwin. He's got to have his hands with him this week, because last week he was just dropping everything. We still got through the game, but I think if he's catching some of those passes, especially the ones around half time either side of it, different game script. I think as well, this defence, Todd Bowles, obviously he's getting interest from everywhere, head coach interviews. This is another just audition for him on a big stage. If his defence can come out and be lights out and stop the Saints' offence, which is a lot easier said than done, that's going to help him in all those. And instead of a team going, right, we'll take the shot on you, might be he's got a few options. I mean, I really hope he doesn't leave, but I think there's a strong chance if he gets the right offer.
With all the coaching jobs open at the moment,
I would not be surprised.
Having said that, I mean, he has had head coach jobs before, hasn't he? And he's not exactly performed as a head coach in the past. Some people do say he's one of these kind of great defensive guru and everything, but doesn't excel in the head coach, so you might get lucky.
There's a little bit as well. He probably knows that if he sticks around, he's next up. Once Arians ain't gonna be coaching forever, but I think if he can get this defense playing like he has done at points this year, and I think it's gonna be the same. We seem to always be a little bit slower at the start on defense. I mean, it's everyone kind of focused on the offense doing that, but I think he does adapt apart from that first Saints game quite well throughout the game. You can see, especially after half-time, he can get a whole new defence out, like did it against the Chiefs, and shut them out relatively well for a half. We just need that early.
Yeah.
And if what he's doing isn't working, he's got to be able to change it. You've got to have Devin White just hammering down on Breeze, have him there in Breeze's face the whole game.
Yeah.
That, I think, can really help us, because if we can put pressure on him, and I mean, it sounds bad, but he's coming off an injury, all it would take is a big hit, and suddenly if you've got Taysom Hill or Jameis,
I feel so bad for Breeze this year.
I really do. So I don't want to see it happen like that. If we beat them, I want us to beat them.
100%.
Both teams at their best.
Yeah.
I want to see Breeze as much as I don't like the Saints. I don't want to see Breeze go out in his last game. It's just him getting sacked and getting injured. And he just
I feel bad for the guy anyway. I think he's been a bit rock. I think everyone knows now this is his last year. They've not come out and said that it's definitely his last year, but it's his last year. Everything that's coming out of everywhere basically says, yeah, it's going to be his last year. So to see him go out, just not getting me. They earned themselves a home playoff game, and it's going to be an empty stadium. I mean, I feel bad for Breeze, the guy who delivered New Orleans a Super Bowl after Katrina, and he's such an icon in New Orleans. He's not going to get his chance to just have that final home playoff game filled with fans, and I feel for him, because no matter what happens, I think there is a good chance that either next week or the week after is the last time we see Breeze on the field, and this week could be the last time he plays in New Orleans, which is a shame.
I feel like with someone like Breeze, though, and what he's done for that city, that team, I think there could be a chance. You've seen it before, like he comes in and maybe, even if he's got other agents doing different jobs, whatever, whether it's a pre-season snap or first snap of the season, something he just gets a snap.
Kind of like Romo when he went out.
Yeah, throws one play off, goes off, gets the applause, and was not pause the game, but in that gap, he gets his walk off in front of everyone. I feel like he's the type of player that will get that.
Yeah,
he deserves it.
Yeah,
he deserves it. Yeah, over his time. But let's get back to the game. And
hopefully he's miserable, yeah.
the spread sat at -3 in favour of the Saints at this time. Where do we see that? I think I'm taking the Saints on that.
I'm going to take the Bucks at +3.
I'm taking the Bucks, but I mean, I'm betting on my own team, so don't like.
Oh,
I'm going to bet on it
dangerous,
regardless.
It's always dangerous.
If I was, I can't.
I'm not-
I
I
can't not bet on my team at this point in the
I
season.
can't bet against Brady in a playoff game. I just can't do it.
It's quite nice. That is one thing I quite like. Even that Washington game coming into it, just that feeling of having Brady
It's
on the team.
reliable, yeah.
It's that normally. I mean, I guess it's just the Bucks. We're quite used to it. Of just going from Jameis to that of like, oh god, the quarterback's going to do everything he can to lose this game. But with Brady, like when you listen to them mic'd up, he's coaching this team throughout the game. It's incredible. I think that is a massive factor in this game. Is that I think he's probably got the team more behind him than Breeze. Because at points, I think some of those Saints know Breeze ain't got it anymore in his arm. Whereas everyone knows with Brady now, they're like, okay, he's shown he can still make every throw.
Brady's still got some zip.
Like,
He's got many years in him left, I think.
I think if especially almost, I think potentially one of the better game scripts for us would be to be in maybe like down 3, down a little bit at half time, and then almost you have between Arians, Brady, Bowles, and Levante David get this team fired up and come out and just take what I saw in the second half. I feel like it's got that kind of thing to it of that all everyone's in the change room like it's happened again.
Here we go again. Yeah.
And then Brady's like, nah.
What makes me nervous though is what we talked about just before, the kryptonite factor of good teams for the Bucks. They just seem to capitulate a little bit. And you know, the last few weeks you've played bad teams. And this is my point when I was a few episodes ago. Week 17 I'd like to have played a decent team, or week 16 play a decent team. Just to prove that you can do it. Yeah. Rather than wait until this game to prove that you can do it.
We've got a prime time win. Say what about Washington. Yeah. I mean, Heineke got that offense moving. Didn't look bad.
True, yeah.
It's a good defense, but I think the biggest thing was we won when it's dark. We finally got over our little whatever, we were scared of the dark, whatever was going on with us earlier in the year. So this is the proper test of it. But
yeah, that's my.
That point doesn't worry me as much now. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, Washington aren't a bad team in fairness. Like I don't know, 6 or 7 and 9 or whatever it was, but Heineke put on a show.
That defense is better than their record. Their record is largely due to the offense this year. And the games you had Haskins or a bit of Kyle Allen or whatever going on, that's the reason their record was what it was. This defense should have been at least at a 500, like should have been at evens, if not a bit more.
But I just want you guys to play someone good before the end of the season, just to give me confidence.
You were going to get your wish on Sunday.
I've been wishing for it for many a night, many a day.
I really hope that one of us has got a team still in it at this point next week.
Yeah, I really hope so. Very miserable next weekend.
The dream is still Ravens Bucks Super Bowl just to watch Sam's face.
Yeah, at that point, who cares who wins?
I don't care.
Well, the real winners,
I do.
Well, yeah, I do care.
I really don't want that to happen. I really don't want that to happen.
You'll be getting no, you're right, mate. I think at that point.
I almost want to put money on it just for.
I think I just watch it on my own.
Yeah.
I think I just watch it on my own. I just go up into my room.
Wherever you go, I will come sit and watch it with you.
Oh, fully, yeah.
There's
space in your room for
I'll
us to
go
sit
in my room, lock my
door,
door, and be like, no, I'm watching it in here with a cup of tea. Leave me alone.
Set up the laptop and watch it outside his door.
Yeah,
about it.
Screaming about it. Sorry, neighbours, about that one.
But,
yeah. But the under-over this game set at 52 as it stands on this day. Where do we think that's going to take us?
I'm not touching that one.
Could go either way.
Yeah,
this could be an absolute shootout between two legends, or it could just be a very defensive affair where it's just like both teams trying not to make that mistake, and it comes down to the clutch field goal, the 2-minute drive.
I don't see the Saints putting up a lot of points. I don't see the Saints putting up more than 25. So, in order for this to hit the over, I think Brady has to be really firing, and maybe the Bucks be putting up closer to 30, which is the aspect that I'm unsure of, because I think there is a possibility that the Bucks can't get it rolling, and this turns into a 14-24 kind of win for the Saints.
It really feels like single digits or more than 30 to me for the Bucks. Like it's going to be either lights out or lights off. Everyone's gone home.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I'm nervous about it. I'll probably go under. The under over if I have to, but
if I had to, I'm taking the under. But again, logic betting, I'm not betting on that.
But definitely take the Saints on the spread.
Brady.
I'm not betting against Brady. I refuse to bet against Brady just because I've bet against Brady so many times.
We'll see how that works when we're playing the Packers next week if we win.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm betting against Brady.
Yeah,
where does that end?
Here we go.
It will end in Lambeau.
Yeah, well, might end in New Orleans. It will end in New Orleans. Predicting it.
Very bold claim.
We haven't done locks of the week in a while. That's
Brands!
That's not going to be my lock of the week. It would have been the Browns one.
Brands!
That'll come close, I think. Sorry to say it. There you go. Sorry.
You know what? Bills is mine. We're doing that. I'm
That's a
locking up
little
Chiefs.
bit spiteful.
Lock it
Yeah,
up
a
the
little
Chiefs
bit.
if I have to lock it. If we're doing
I mean,
locks.
yeah, money line, but Browns spread -10. Oh, I think that's
Okay,
right.
okay, yeah, if we're doing it money line, Browns. If not,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
if we're doing locks with spreads, that's
If we don't locks with spreads, then yeah, Browns for me.
Bucks then for me. Yeah.
What's it for you, Sam?
Now, locking the Browns money line.
Money
so,
line.
so I'm obviously
Money
not
line.
going
See,
for
yeah,
the spread.
if you're doing a lock, it's got to be money line. Spreads don't matter. And
Oh, let me.
the week.
And if
Look at
they
the
don't
week's
win,
result.
I'll
That's
name
the
my
betting
third-born
lock.
child.
Go on. Ha ha. Go
I
on.
will name him.
Oh, he's really thinking
He
about
doesn't
it.
get the old radio silence message.
I don't-
Those listen just
I
audio.
don't know.
He's
Who's got a
choked.
great NFL name?
There's been many over the years. How long you
There's
got?
got to be a brilliant one. Ha ha is good, isn't it?
Ha ha's a good
Oh,
one. That's not his real
top
name.
tier.
I like. You know whose name I do love is Bobby Okereke. I love his last name.
Okereke Berry.
Okereke.
Okereke Berry, but that's his last name, isn't it? So
Yeah, but you can
I
still
think
call him
that-
his first name.
actually, yeah, it doesn't really matter. You can call it
Yeah,
whatever
I
you
can
want,
call him what I want. Don't tell me what I can call my kid and what I can't call my kid.
Well, I mean, we're going to tell you on one of them.
Yeah.
I bet you shook on it.
innit? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's probably his
Granted,
partner.
no.
We'll have to tell.
I should be alright then.
Have a swift divorce.
Waste down the road.
Yeah, yeah, future our problem, isn't it? Don't worry about that now. Yeah.
I really make some terrible decisions.
You really do. Our little man
On
really
video
does
as
make some
well.
terrible decisions.
It's like that's a behind closed doors bet, which is you and the lads. It's you on film on the internet now.
Slap it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, the end of season highlight clip, if we ever do that, that'll be on there, I think.
Sure. Suggesting like you want it, then it could be like you're gonna have to edit
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Brilliant.
It's a great idea, but...
Get in the cave.
But boys, that's every single game previewed. 4 games, big games, blockbusters this week. Exciting times.
I hope they were blockbusters. End of the season.
It should be,
It's
yeah.
excited. Big games.
Now the NFC East is out of it. It is blockbusters.
Yeah, now it feels like professional football now.
Yeah.
It's probably
Who knows? Maybe they'll be broadcasting NFC East on Nickelodeon next year. So
Probably should.
might be something interesting in those games.
That was better than I thought it was going to be. That coverage.
Yeah,
It was
I
quite-
quite
it was
enjoyed-
nice.
I
like
quite
how they
enjoyed
did
the
it.
little end zone stuff that they were putting over it.
It was a nice change, I think. It was
Yeah,
and
They did it well.
to get a younger audience in as well was always good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't think I'll be choosing it over the regular.
No,
But for what it is,
target audience isn't quite us, but
I think they should
The
do it
sound,
on
I think
all
it's
sorts of
perfect.
different
the
channels.
little man, yeah.
Yeah.
I want it on like the food channel. See what they can do with it. Like, get it out.
That's one for you. What channel, apart from the food channel, would be the best?
This is definitely time to end the podcast, James.
ESPN for me, really. Man.
Yeah, probably BT Sport actually. Yeah, good point.
It's probably one of them sport channels now I think about it.
Oh, we're not going to do it.
I think
Fair
the
enough.
food channel would be good.
Food channel would be good.
Yeah.
Have you got a good
Oh,
one?
shopping channel, that'd be brilliant.
That is
QVC.
actually what the weather channel.
The weather channel, that'd be especially for this week as well.
Yeah, Weather Channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that
Or
overlaps those
do you
Amazon
remember
stats,
watching?
that, doesn't it?
Do you
Yeah.
remember watching the US election? And you know they've got those the guys that like commentate on the polls coming
Oh,
in.
just
Those
a word on
guys
those.
would be
Those
great.
guys.
They'd be great at it.
Electric.
Blooming electric.
We
Yeah.
need them in this country. Our election
just
coverage,
yeah.
boring.
Yeah.
America's, I didn't know really, I was trying to follow it, pick up how it actually worked as I went along. I was invested.
Literally.
I didn't learn anything, but it was
I
electric.
was here for it. I loved it.
I swear they didn't sleep. They were literally on it like 24/7.
They were
Unbelievable.
wired. They were dialed in.
But yeah, maybe not.
I
news
think we
channels,
should get this to the
shopping
NFL.
channels.
I think we should get it on CNN, getting presented by those guys. The NFL, their numbers would soar.
I do quite
Yeah.
like Shopping Channel.
Shopping Channel's a great
And mix
idea.
it with gambling. With all your little prop bets.
Ooh.
Be like,
With the old conveyor belt.
Michael Thomas, he's 15 yards away, it's coming across, and here we see a pristine 2020 Michael Thomas 10 yards from his goal.
Yeah.
Selling
And
you your
watch
prop
it
bets.
pass, yeah.
And then you could
Yeah,
get
that's a good idea.
we could try and get the UK touchdown involved. Get like stuff going across the top, like buy this, order PO box, blah blah blah.
I mean, that's just
Delivered
that.
next week.
You just invented the commercial.
Yes.
Yes.
We could charge people money to
Oh, my
recommend and advertise their products.
I might quit
We've
my job
cracked it.
tomorrow.
God. Right, let's end this really
This
quick
is
and
on the
go and
road.
figure this
We need to
stuff out.
copyright this one.
Yeah. But boys, unless you have any further points to raise, because I believe we have something to do real quick now and create this
Yeah, we got a
idea.
Let's do it.
Any ideas? Any further questions or queries?
Oh, good.
Nah, I feel good, mate.
No. All right, let's end it there.
Pop-up ads coming up everywhere.
Be sure to head over to YouTube, go like, comment and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell. I figured out where it is this week. It's down by the subscribe button on the left. So I'm not going to put on the screen, but if you can use your eyes and look down there, that's where it is. Turn it on, please. Also, head over to Twitter and Instagram. We're at the Brit Iron. Go give us a follow on both those platforms and get involved with the conversation. But for now, thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.